I recently sat down with the founder of Cargill Fitness, Marcus Cargill. Cargill Fitness offers personal and group training to folks who want to lose fat, gain muscle, sports train, and most importantly, live a healthier lifestyle. Marcus shared how to curb overeating and how he's helping the community get healthy through movement. Hint, it involves the beach. All right, Marcus, welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate your workouts on the beach. I mean, it's super fun, super dope. I wish I was closer, so I could be more regular. But your classes are awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And shout out to my brothers who really got that start on it. And that would be Willpower, and Jate at Little John Fit. And we'll talk some more about that shortly too.
Yeah, yeah. So first, let's start with how did you get into raw food eating? Like, how did that even enter your realm of consciousness?
Mm. I will say that I can't give you a clear answer on how it got into the consciousness. I think there were just some people who were around me at that point in my life that were either vegan, or I was noticing an increase in people who were plant-based that was in my life at the time. And then one of my good brothers, shout out to Henry over at Taste Heaven, is a raw food chef as well, or raw vegan chef, for lack of a better word. So having people around me who are vegan and encouraging me to go plant-based as well. And there are slight differences there. Um, were around me at that point, and I was already kind of getting to that point where I wanted to eat more plants anyway, just because the more I studied it, the more I recognized, okay, the more plants you have in your system, generally the healthier you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually a correlation between how many plants, how heavy plants are involved in someone's nutritional diet and their health. There's usually a correlation between meat consumption and higher risk for some form of cardiovascular condition, and the opposite for the more plants there are or the less meat people eat. So I suppose I just reached a point. I remember specifically, it was Christmas 2 years ago. Um, usually Christmas is when we have all the different, my family, we got lots of different meats and things like that out, a full spread. And I remember being around all these things that generally I would love, but I just felt called to do different. That day, that Christmas is when I stopped eating meat, and I haven't had it since. So it's been over 2 years now. I don't
Congratulations.
know. Yeah, thank you. I don't know what that was that encouraged me to do it. It kind of felt like a calling, like a divine, hey, right now, I need you to focus on this. That was sort of the message that was given to me at that time, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had a desire really to have it. Um, you know, I might smell it and I'm like, well, that smells good. I remember that, but it's never been to the point where I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and eat this again. Um, and yeah, so I pretty much cut that out completely. I've, for the most part, not had any dairy, eggs, milk, etc. I've had it in little bits and pieces here and there over the course of that, but just full transparency. But it's never happened as a result of being like, oh, let me proactively look for what has some dairy in it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's pretty much been the journey there.
So, and so how long have you been a trainer?
Oh, I've been a trainer for going on 12, 13 years. I've been getting that question a lot now. And it's starting to make me nervous because I'm like, wow, how have I been doing this all this time already? How much time? It's really a trip. Time is moving by like this.
Seriously, it is. So you've been a trainer for 12, 13 years and you've been eating vegan and would you say like high raw,
I would say moderate.
moderate raw
I'm working towards getting to the high raw. Um,
for the past
there,
2 years?
yeah, and I would say usually I'm more raw during the summertime, and it's a combination, but I think it's easier to be more raw. At least it has been for me during the summertime because I sort of go more just towards a lot of fruits during that
Mm-hmm.
time. During the summertime, it's hotter. You want something that's cool. and something that's refreshing. So that tends to be the case. However, even during the other seasons, I'm finding that I'm making it happen more and more anyway, as well, with different salads and things like that. And then learning what ways you can heat up your foods with spices, if you will. So, yeah, it's slowly growing more and more.
Yeah. What are your favorite spices to heat up your foods?
Pretty much all the peppers, just to keep it simple. If it's a pepper, I'll probably mess with it, unless it's a ghost pepper. That might be a little too much for me. But all the different the bell peppers and things like that usually is plenty for me. That gets the job done.
Yeah. So okay, so you were a trainer for the past 12 years and you've been eating this way for the past 2 years. So were you at least somehow concerned, that you'll lose muscle mass because you are pretty muscular. So
Thank you.
like were you concerned about your aesthetic, especially being a trainer and like people are paying you to get your body?
Mhm.
Did that ever cross your mind?
Wow, really putting some gas on me. I appreciate that. Let's see here. It crossed my mind briefly, but because I sort of understood, as long as you continue for me, for example, my training routine or regimen contains a lot of weight training, you know, both heavy training for power and training for hypertrophy or similar to a bodybuilder. So I figured as long as I'm getting the calorie intake that I need and I'm still training for strength and for size, I might drop off a little bit, but I expected a little bit of a drop off, but not to the point where it would be uh, ridiculous. Now, when I first started, because I had to sort of build some momentum on and figure out what I was doing and figure out what my staples were, I did end up losing probably a little bit more than I would have liked, and it was noticeable. But I found that equilibrium at this point. And in the grand scheme of things, whenever you're making a change, you are going to get either a dip or a rise until you can find your homeostasis again. So for me, I knew that if I did have a little dip in what it was I was looking for, that would come with the territory. But I knew that wouldn't be the end game. The end game for me was always to be able to get right back to where I wanted to be. So right now, I'm probably sitting at a solid 200. I'm about 5'9", 200 pounds. And I would say compared to where I was at my strongest, I was about 15 pounds heavier. And I'm doing about the same amount of weight with 15 pounds less and no meat. So I think as long as you continue training and training intelligently, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I want to shout out to the documentary, The Game Changers, for
Mhm.
the folks who are listening who are interested in bodybuilding and concerned about losing muscle mass on a vegan diet. That documentary is, changing the game for folks. Let's put
Yeah,
it that way.
definitely.
So that's cool. So it wasn't really a big issue for you. That's interesting to hear because that's a pretty unique situation. A lot of people are kind of concerned, especially the guys, that they're gonna get too skinny or whatever. But if you're doing veganism right, especially raw foods too, raw foods in particular, you're gonna lose a lot more weight, right? But
Right.
the
Right.
what ends up happening is you get to a place, like you said, homeostasis, where you get to a healthy body weight. And you might have a perception of like an idea of what you want your body to look like, but it may not be your natural body weight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
so that's why I was
Right.
kind of wondering, like, if you we're trying to kind of fine tune that, like kind of going against maybe naturally what your body wanted to do to get a certain type of look.
Right. I think, and make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Sounds like you're saying getting an idea of when you are going raw, getting an idea of where does your body want to go versus where do you want to take it.
Right.
Your body might take you in a particular direction and you might want it in a different direction. And then learning how to kind of merge the two together, compromise, if you will. Is that what kind of what you're saying right now?
Yeah, because I think it's like, I guess compromise is an interesting word, or you know, a lot of us, and I know I'm included in that because my whole like interest in health and wellness really started with the fitness industry, and Beachbody. Like I was so into Beachbody, Turbo Jam, and all of that, um, and we look at these things, and especially now with Instagram, like people are so into bodybuilding, vegan or not, like they're across the board. Folks are really into it, like competing and doing all of that. And with this way of eating, you get to the natural healthy place for your body, like that's a given. But you won't necessarily look like what you're seeing on Instagram and all that stuff. Like, for example, to get a body like yours, you mentioned you're lifting heavy weights. That's intentional. That's
Right.
not just going to happen changing your diet. Like, you need
Right.
to do that in order to get shredded and
Need,
cut, you know?
need.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, if there was more to it, like if you like went into it like, okay, so since I'm gonna eat this way, I have to put a specific game plan together to look a certain way.
Yeah. Because I wanted to look a certain way, or I didn't want to necessarily lose my gains. Well, as far as I was more concerned about my strength. I wanted to be mindful of my strength. I prioritize strength over size. I would rather be strong, even if I'm not, you know, a large size, relatively speaking. The size comes as a byproduct of being strong. Um, so for me, it was always, even throughout changing into a more raw eating diet, the concern was always focusing on training heavy. When you train heavy, you are training for strength. I think a lot of times people don't necessarily train for strength to the same degree they might train for size. So, yes, your strength may deplete a bit, but I think if you continue to incorporate strength training, literally training for strength, meaning going very heavy,
Mm-hmm.
5 reps or less. Like when I first went raw and left meat alone, most exercises I would do 80% of the year was 1 to 5 reps, and to add an element of cardio, I would do supersets. So for those who are unfamiliar, a superset is just doing 2 exercises back to back. Or I might do a tricep or a quad set where you're doing 3 and 4 exercises back to back. So that would keep my heart rate elevated. So I still had the cardio element, but I was always training somewhere between that 1 to 5 rep range. That is where you can get that power, that strength from. It's going, almost to your max as far as how much you can handle weight wise. And that was pretty much how I was able to, I believe, keep a lot of the strength and size.
Mm. The secret sauce.
uh,
So what are you doing now? Has that evolved at all?
now I'm adding a little bit more cardio, because my calories have been up a little bit more as well. And I'm
It's that
noticing that,
COVID. It's that
yeah,
COVID-19 was.
a lot of people call it that quarantine 15.
Yeah.
I've taken a liking to potatoes a little too much. And so I'm recognizing that it's putting me in a place where uh, I would prefer not to be right now. So what I'm working towards is I'm adding a little bit more cardio into my game, just because I recognize, for me personally, when I have a little bit more cardio in my personal programs, my body responds well to that. So I'm still doing supersets, but instead of doing maybe 2 weight training exercises back to back, I might do one with jump rope in between, or one with a run on a treadmill between. So I'm doing a little bit more of that, and I'm finding that to be a nice little healthy balance as well. That's pretty much what I'm doing currently. For the most part, I'm still training heavy. I toggle between 1 to 5 reps and 5 to 8. 5 to 8 is sort of like that, the cusp of strength and size. You're getting a little bit of that size element. And then that 1 to 5 is more what we would call power and strength. So I sort of toggle between those, every few weeks, so that I can keep that. And then that, in addition to the cardio, I'm anticipating to be a little bit leaner going into the summertime, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. I got a lot of pictures and content that I want to be able to provide. And I think I can be a better model of health and healthier eating, physique wise. So that's what I'm working on.
Cool. So so you're doing these supersets with more cardio. How frequently are you doing it? Do you take breaks at all during the
Uh,
week?
Breaks during the week. Um, right now, I just finished technically I've been doing 2-a-days. So I'll do a workout earlier in the day and then one in the evening. The evening one is a little bit shorter and tends to be more like just strength focused, not as much cardio. Um, it'll be like a power couple. I'll just focus on 2 moves and I'll just work at those for a good 20, 30 minutes, maybe 3 or 4. Usually I'll take Sunday. Technically, I guess from a physical activity standpoint, I don't really take any days off. But from a training standpoint, usually I'll take one day off. Most days I average 5 days a week training. Today I just finished my 6 workout. So this is workout number 6 of this week. Tomorrow I'll technically take a rest day, but I think I'll feel like biking a little bit. So I'll probably bike around the beach or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but just something to where physical activity is always a part of my life. I
Mm-hmm.
think something that we can afford to do every day. A lot of us, we have this thought in our head that, 3 days a week is enough. And I don't, I'm going to respectfully challenge that. I don't think that 3 days is enough. I think 3 days is good, but long term, I think being active most days of the week is going to be ideal because you want to set yourself up for life. And yeah, get those reps in, get some extra days in.
Yeah.
Prioritize the health.
So you train women, right,
Yeah,
as well as men, right?
yes.
So have you ever noticed in women overtraining that actually causes weight gain,
Overtraining that causes weight gain. I've noticed overeating that causes weight gain.
but never overtraining?
I can't say that I've seen overtraining that causes weight gain. So a couple things. With overtraining, some people I know have used the term overtraining where they feel burnt out. I don't know if this is the same context. Now, if you're feeling like you're overtraining in a sense that you feel burnt out, like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything, I would I would look at it the other way around. Rather than necessarily being burnt because you're doing too much training, you might be under rested, meaning you need more rest. Sort of like such as life. We might be working a lot. And it's not that you can't handle the workload of working a lot, but sometimes if you're lacking rest or if your rest is incongruent to the amount of work that you put in your life, you end up burnt out. But, you're not necessarily going to just work less. You might just rest more with some days off, some more time sleeping, some more time decompressing in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of pours into your cup just enough so that you can, get back to your work. Especially important for those who are entrepreneurs. A lot of times you're not in a position to necessarily take a lot of days off. So you have to be mindful of how you plan your rest within your life so that you're not getting burnt out. Something that I am quite challenged with. So
Yeah.
speaking from a personal experience and a personal practice that I'm even working on finding myself. So no, I would say not no to the overtraining that causes weight gain. If you're taking in too many calories or if the eating is wild, I find that to be more problematic. In my
Which
experience,
people
overtraining,
tend to do, right? When they work out more, they tend to eat more.
when they work out more, they tend to eat more. And again, it makes sense. You're burning more calories. Your hunger is likely going to go up a little bit. The thing to keep in mind is when stuff like that happens, two things. One, yes, your hunger is going to go up. But the other thing to be mindful of is be more mindful of eating more nutrient dense foods and be mindful of your gut health. So a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I have them, and myself included, I'll start off with some form of a probiotic, something that helps with better breaking down the foods that we take in so that you can actually better break down and absorb more of the nutrients of the foods that you're taking in. Oftentimes we might be working out. We might change our diet so that we're eating healthier, but we're still operating off of a foundation of unhealthy eating. So our system is clogged and backed up, if you will. So we're putting this good stuff on top of a a muddy foundation, if you will. So taking that time to do that probiotics sort of helps to create a reset and gives you a stronger foundation to start off of so that you can better break down the foods that you take in. That's the other reason why raw is going great as well, so that you can get more of those uh, gut healthy nutrients, enzymes, whatever you want to call it, into that system. So yeah, for those that are, looking to eat better, or you find that your appetite goes up, generally I find if you have something in your system where you're able to get more nutrients out of the nutrient dense foods that you eat, that'll help take care of a lot of that hunger.
Mm-hmm. And I've read too, just in connection with that conversation, that like from some different guys, because one of my things is I really like to read Men's Health magazine, because they have really good articles. What can I say? They have really good articles, and I hear these guys or read that they're like struggling with stiff joints and things like that, which I know, like that's why the that movie, The Game Changers, it really digs into this, like why bodybuilders who have been, competing on a standard American diet, basically, and then they go vegan specifically because they feel like they recover better and they're not having these issues with their joints and things like that. Have you had that experience personally?
I would say yes. I think since I've gone plant based, I end up sore far less, or my recovery time is faster. I feel as
Mm-hmm.
though I recover much faster since I've been more plant based. Even if I'm doing, somewhat of a higher intensity, if you will. Um, that's been my experience for sure. I think that's been the experience for some people I work with as well. I'm working with the client currently right now who he has reported to me that, he's had back pain for, we're going on 20 plus years. And since he's made a switch going to a more plant-based eating lifestyle, that he's noticed far less, significantly less low back pain, and it's pretty much consistent since he's been more plant-based. So definitely, I think there's a correlation between eating more plants, which tend to be anti-inflammatory, and inflammation that can occur to the joints, and the acidity that would be in the blood and in the body, from the meats and things like that, versus the more alkaline foods like the plants. So I think there's definitely great benefit there.
Yeah. So you do these weekly classes on the beach that I've been to a few times, super fun, like we were talking about earlier. Is that going to be like a regular for the rest of the year? Like how is that going to be going forward?
Yeah, going forward, it's going to be a regular thing during the year. For those of you who are, I guess, in the greater Los Angeles area, we do something called Sweat Saturday. It's with my brothers Will, Jate, and myself. Sweat Saturday. It's every Saturday at 9:45 a.m. And we do a, quick class. It's about an hour. You come out there, you get moving. It's right on the beach at Manhattan Beach Pier, specifically on the left side. You'll see us. You'll see a group of people ready to move, and you go ahead and join us. And it's a free class. Donations are welcome. And when you come out there, you just come out there ready to move. You don't need to really bring anything. I guess you can bring your water, but just bring your butt. Be ready to move. Bring some loved ones, bring some friends. We recently started our first class today, actually, and we're going to do it ongoing at 11 a.m. We'll do a class for the kids. So that's specifically, more kid friendly style workouts and activities. And that's pretty much it. So we've been doing it for 6 or 7 months now. We started in July, and we're going to keep that going until, we're called to shift it and transition it into whatever. But we're sort of going with the flow right now, and the classes have been steadily growing. We're probably averaging maybe 30 people a class, I'd say.
Wow.
And we're going to continue to let it grow and build a community there,
Yeah.
and let Saturday become a bigger and bigger thing, to where Sweat Saturday, I think, has the potential to not only impact, I think it can be a more citywide, statewide, nationwide type of movement, sort of like, you go around anywhere and around the States, we know about Taco Tuesday. So I think Sweat Saturday is something that certainly has the potential to be this statewide, nationwide consciousness to encourage physical activity during the week, if nothing
Mm-hmm.
else. So I think it's going to turn into that. I think there's some special things in store for our community and for the world by doing these classes. So, but it's going to start off in the city, and we're going to continue to build it out.
That's super cool. And I know the kids aren't getting gym time right now since they're not physically in school.
Right.
So that's awesome. Plus, you're working out with the most beautiful view ever of the mountains and the water and the
Hard to,
sand. Like,
hard to beat, I must say.
yes, yes.
Hard.
And for all of you who are not in LA, sorry. But it is like the most amazing experience, especially after like when I went that first time after being stuck in quarantine for months, to like put my feet in sand and like breathe this fresh air and just be around all these beautiful people of color all working out and concerned about their health. It was just like I felt like I was in heaven. Like I literally felt like I died and gone to heaven. It was amazing.
I'm glad you
Amazing.
enjoyed it, and we'll be looking forward to your next go around coming into the class.
Yeah, it
And yes,
definitely kicked my behind every single time. Like, you have to get your mind right going in. Like, this is not fun and games. Like, you're going to have a good time, but it's going to be difficult, especially
it's
if you have a
fun
sedentary
and game,
job.
and it's going to be a challenge. But
Yeah.
here's, we make accommodations to all fitness levels. So no matter where you're at fitness wise, there's always accommodations. There's always modifications. For all of the exercises we instruct, we always provide modifications. So that way, wherever you're at, you can start with where you're at with what you have, and you can
Yeah.
build up from there. So
I literally just take breaks. I'll just stop moving. I'm like, I'm about to die. So yeah, I'm just not right now.
understand.
Yeah, it's good, but you gotta challenge yourself because you never know how far you can push it. And two, another great benefit to working out on the sand is that it's less harmful, I feel like, to your knees. Like for me personally, I used to run all the time when I lived in the Bay Area. And then when I left the Bay Area, moved to Chicago, I started having issues with my knees.
Mm-hmm.
Then I learned I needed to do more of a what do you call that thing? That thing you massage on that takes out the knots. What's that thing
Foam
called?
roller?
The
Foam
what?
roller?
The foam roller, yeah, which is painful, you know. But working out on the sand, like I personally haven't had those issues. I think the impact is not as great.
Yeah, definitely. You'll get a softer impact. And, adding to that, you're doing a little something called grounding. And perhaps you could, talk to your viewers about that. But ultimately, grounding is just you got your feet in the earth versus in rubber shoes. We can get into that, I suppose, in another time. But long story short, you're you're harmonizing yourself. You're getting yourself in better balance with nature. And generally, when we are in more balance with nature, we tend to operate better. We tend to operate healthier. So yes, that opportunity to go in for those who do barefoot and are comfortable with that, there tends to be some great things that come out of it.
And you have the Cargill Fitness small group training. Is that online?
A combination. So it's both online and in person for those who are in the LA area, South Bay area. Um, for anybody who is interested in joining those classes, because usually I have a few good classes. The main one is the transformation class. You want to go in there, you want to transform your health, whether that's weight gain, weight loss. The foundation is being healthier with wherever you're at. And then from there, we make the necessary tweaks to help you gain weight or to lose weight if that's a concern. If you have any particular health conditions that you would like to alleviate or reduce the severity of, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, we work on making the necessary adjustments for that as well. And that's what the classes are about, both done in person if you're in the South Bay area in California, in LA, as well as online, usually via Zoom.
Very cool. So anybody can join. Thank you so much, Marcus. Tell us where people can find you online, um, your website, your social media channels. How can people connect with you?
So I'm doing a few different things. You can find me at cargillfitness.com. And I'm currently making some adjustments to that, but you can still check the website out and see a couple of things. You're going to see in the upcoming months more and more things getting added to it, more things extending to that. Social media, you can find me at Cargill Fitness. Cargill is Cargill, Fitness at Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. I tend to be more active on Instagram, posting fitness videos, um, and I guess esoteric content, if you will, for those of you who are open to learning more about things that you might not hear on the news if you watch a lot of television, as well as just pictures here and there of different things that I appreciate and leaving messages. I'm probably most active and transparent on Instagram, so you can definitely start there if you had to choose one. On YouTube, I tend to post my fitness videos as well as my fitness podcast videos, where I too do podcasts similar to you, but we generally do it in a gym setting where we're working out and going over the podcasting. So it's interesting there, a nice little spin on things, you know. And on Facebook, you can find me at Cargill Fitness. I usually will post a combination of those things. And on LinkedIn, for a more professional, formal presentation, you can find me at Marcus Cargill on LinkedIn.
The
Oh,
many
wait a minute.
sides of Marcus.
Oh, yeah. Also, you can find me on transformationroomfit.com. And that's where I'm doing subscription-based 10-minute workouts. So you can subscribe to that, transformationroomfit.com, and find me there, Marcus Cargill. And I have a variety of 10-minute videos you can do. So if you find that you're easing into it, you want to get started, but you want to work on consistency, we got several videos there, and I have a lot of 10-minute videos there that you can check out as well. So I'm into a lot of different things so that you can come through and, be impacted in a great way.
Awesome. Busy, busy.
That's the goal.
Yes, and I love the 10-minute workouts because I know for my clients, sometimes that is all they have between, going to work, commuting to and from work and meal prepping, and doing all the things. They literally can only slice out 10 minutes to do a workout. So that's super cool that you have that available. Thank you so much, Marcus, for being on the podcast. You are actually the second man to appear on my podcast. So
Oh,
after 2.5 years.
I'm honored. I am. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I
So
sincerely
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I do have one other question for you, actually, before we get off. You
I'm
mentioned
scared now.
earlier,
I'm sweating.
B squared, sweat, perspire. But serious note, you mentioned something along the lines of being productive and relaxed at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
For someone like myself, who you mentioned is busy, I'm doing different things. I find it difficult to be able to be in both of those spaces simultaneously. What tips or what things have you found has helped you be more productive and relaxed at the same time?
Um, it's the intention. So I start my day with a series of sacred rituals, right? That kind of put my
Okay, okay.
mind in a certain perspective. And with that intention, the day goes easy. Plus, 2021 is my word for the year is play, right? So
Mm,
I'm reminding myself and I'm infusing play in everything I do, which keeps things light. I'm not really stressed about the outcome. I'm more like present with where I am in this moment, what I'm doing in this moment, and the process of getting to where I want to go instead of focusing on where I want to be.
mm,
And yeah, so and carving out free time. So when you don't have structured time, you can really get things done without it being stressful. Like, but it's different for you today because like you have a schedule today, right? You have your classes today that like you have to be there at these certain times. So on days like that, you know, my requirements for myself is like I only need to get this one important thing done for myself. And then if I get that done, I'm good, you know? It's not having too many expectations. We are working ourselves into the ground. You know what I'm saying? That's what I realized. And it's like I have been working so hard that even though I'm getting what I want, it's like, how can you enjoy it when you are overworked? I realized I was an overworker, which was hard to turn off. So I was dealing with burnout and adrenal fatigue. And when you get to adrenal
Mm.
fatigue, that's when I was, you know, why I asked you about women overworking and gaining weight, because that literally happened to me in the Bay. I was working out a lot and I was gaining weight. Um, but I was, you know, and I just eat what I eat. I don't really track calories because I know what I'm eating, you know? So yes, maybe I was overdoing it a little bit on calories, but based off of the workouts I was doing, I'm pretty sure I was fine. But my body was in such a stress state. Like the workouts I was doing was high impact hit, you know, plus I was stressed out, you know, and all of that just had my body in so much stress that I wasn't losing weight even though I was working out all the time. I work out less now, but I lose more. Like I'm like at a smaller weight and a tighter body just because of what I'm eating, and I'm making sure that I rest, like, you know, a lot more than I used to.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Intention.
Yeah, it's all
Word
intention.
for you this year is play. So being more lighthearted, being more present.
Yep.
Okay? Lighthearted, present, play,
Because you don't
intentionality.
have control over the outcome. You only have control over what you're doing in this moment.
Mm,
So you basically give it up to God. So the pressure is off, you know?
message.
That's it.
Okay.